Imagine waking before sunrise, stepping outside your home, and discovering that every neighbor, every family, every child, every animal, and every sign of daily life had disappeared without leaving a single trace. No screams, no struggle, no warning, just silence. This is the chilling mystery known as the village that vanished overnight, a story inspired by real historical disappearances, mysterious abandoned settlements, and unexplained events that continue to fascinate investigators and storytellers around the world. While some details have been dramatized for suspense, the mystery explores a question that has haunted humanity for centuries. Can an entire village simply disappear? The story begins in the remote mountains, where dense forests stretched for miles and narrow dirt roads connected isolated communities. Hidden deep within those hills was a peaceful settlement called Black Hollow, a village so small that most maps barely acknowledged its existence. Around 150 people lived there, surviving through farming, hunting, fishing, and raising livestock. Electricity had only recently arrived, and modern technology remained almost non-existent. Everyone knew everyone else. Doors stayed unlocked. Children played freely through the dusty streets, while elders gathered on wooden porches each evening, sharing stories beneath lantern light. It seemed like the kind of place where nothing extraordinary could ever happen.
Yet strange events had quietly surrounded Black Hollow for decades. Elderly residents often spoke of mysterious lights floating above the surrounding mountains late at night. Hunters claim they occasionally heard whispers echoing through the forest, despite being completely alone. Travelers passing near the village reported sudden fog appearing from nowhere, swallowing entire roads before disappearing minutes later. Most people dismissed these stories as legends created to entertain children, but the oldest villagers insisted the mountains were hiding secrets far older than the village itself. One autumn, unusual events became impossible to ignore. Livestock began behaving strangely. Horses refused to enter certain fields. Dogs barked endlessly at empty forests during the night. Chickens scattered wildly for no visible reason. Birds that normally filled the morning sky suddenly vanished. Even insects seemed unusually quiet. Farmers noticed patches of land where crops withered overnight, despite healthy soil and good weather. The village priest believed these were signs that something unnatural was approaching, while younger residents laughed and blamed changing weather patterns.
Days later, several children claimed they had seen glowing figures standing silently among the trees after sunset. They described tall shapes surrounded by pale blue light, watching them from a distance before disappearing between the trunks. Their parents assumed the children had vivid imaginations, yet more reports followed. A local hunter returned terrified after seeing strange lights moving silently across a ridge. He insisted they were neither lanterns nor vehicles because they floated above the ground without making any sound. He refused to enter the forest again. The village schoolteacher, Sarah Collins, believed every mystery deserved a logical explanation. She carefully documented each strange report inside her journal.
She interviewed farmers, hunters, children, and travelers, recording dates, times, weather conditions, and locations. Her notes revealed an unsettling pattern. Every unexplained event occurred closer to the center of Black Hollow. Whatever was happening seemed to be gradually moving toward the village itself. Meanwhile,
visitors noticed something even stranger. Compasses frequently pointed in the wrong direction near Black Hollow. Pocket watches occasionally stopped working for several minutes before restarting on their own. Travelers described feeling unusually tired as they approached the village. Some experienced headaches. Others reported hearing distant voices whispering names, despite seeing nobody nearby. Scientists today might search for magnetic anomalies or environmental explanations. But at the time, such experiences only deepened the mystery.
3 days before the disappearance, a traveling merchant arrived with supplies. He spent the afternoon trading goods and sharing news from neighboring towns. Before leaving, he remarked that the entire village felt unnaturally quiet. Even during daylight, he sensed that someone was constantly watching him from the surrounding hills. Villagers laughed at his nervousness, yet several admitted they had been feeling exactly the same way. That evening, the sky turned an unusual shade of crimson just before sunset. Witnesses from neighboring farms later recalled seeing strange columns of light rising above the mountains surrounding Black Hollow. Some assumed they were distant storms. Others believed they resembled massive beams reaching toward the clouds. Oddly, no thunder was ever heard. As darkness settled across the valley, the village continued its ordinary routine. Families gathered for dinner. Children prepared for bed. Lanterns glowed warmly behind cabin windows. The blacksmith finished repairing tools. The baker prepared dough for the following morning. The teacher wrote the day's final journal entry, noting that an overwhelming silence had fallen across the village. Even the wind had stopped. During the middle of the night, several people living miles away later described hearing a deep humming sound, unlike anything they had experienced before. It seemed to come from every direction at once. The noise lasted only a few minutes before disappearing completely. Dogs throughout the region began barking wildly. Then everything became silent again. The next morning, the traveling merchant returned after realizing he had forgotten part of his inventory. As he approached Black Hollow, something immediately felt wrong. Thick fog covered the roads, despite clear skies elsewhere. No smoke rose from chimney tops. No children played outside. No animals wandered the fields. The silence felt overwhelming. When he entered the village, his fear intensified. Every house stood exactly as families had left them. Breakfast remained half-prepared on kitchen tables. Bread still rested inside ovens. Coffee sat untouched beside cold fireplaces. Clothes hung neatly beside beds. Toys remained scattered across floors. Personal belongings filled every home. Yet every single person had vanished.
Outside, livestock wandered freely without owners. Horses remained tied beside empty barns. Chickens roamed unattended. Dogs nervously searched the streets, whining as though looking for missing families. Nothing suggested panic or violence. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no damaged buildings, no footprints leading away from the village. It appeared as though every resident had simply ceased to exist at exactly the same moment. Authorities quickly arrived from nearby towns. They expected to uncover evidence of a crime or natural disaster, but investigators found nothing that explained the disappearance. Search parties combed forests for weeks. Rivers were dragged. Nearby caves were explored. Every trail leading away from Black Hollow was examined. Not a single body was discovered. Not one survivor was found.
Investigators searched every home in remarkable detail. Valuable jewelry remained untouched. Money sat inside drawers. Important documents stayed carefully stored. Family photographs covered walls exactly as before. Meals remained unfinished. Some clocks inside homes had stopped at precisely 2:17 a.m., while others continued ticking normally. No one could explain why. Sarah Collins' journal became the investigation's most important piece of evidence. Her final entry chilled everyone who read it. It simply stated, "Tonight the silence feels different. Even the forest seems afraid. If anyone ever reads this, remember that something has been watching us for a very long time." Those words transformed an ordinary missing person investigation into one of history's greatest mysteries. Scientists proposed several theories. Some believed toxic underground gases may have forced villagers to flee during the night, but this failed to explain why they left behind every possession or where they ultimately went. Others suggested a secret military operation, although no evidence supported such claims. Criminal investigators explored the possibility of organized kidnapping, yet removing an entire village without leaving physical evidence seemed almost impossible. Psychologists argued that fear and folklore might have distorted later witness testimony. Historians suggested the disappearance may have been exaggerated through generations of storytelling. Skeptics believed villagers could have secretly relocated together for unknown reasons. Yet none of these theories answered the central question. Why would an entire community abandon everything they owned without leaving even a single confirmed destination? Paranormal investigators offered far more extraordinary explanations. Some believed Black Hollow had become trapped within a dimensional anomaly. Others claimed unidentified aerial phenomena had removed the villagers. Local legends spoke of ancient spirits protecting the mountains and punishing anyone who disturbed forgotten sacred ground. While these ideas captured public imagination, none could be scientifically verified. Years passed. Nature slowly reclaimed Black Hollow. Trees grew through abandoned buildings. Roofs collapsed beneath heavy winters. Vines wrapped around broken fences. Travelers occasionally visited the ghost village, hoping to experience its strange atmosphere. Many reported an overwhelming feeling of sadness. Others claimed electronic equipment malfunctioned unexpectedly. Cameras occasionally failed without explanation. Several visitors insisted they heard distant voices calling softly from empty houses, despite finding no one nearby. One research team installed motion cameras throughout the abandoned settlement, hoping to document wildlife activity. Most footage showed nothing unusual until one autumn evening, when every camera simultaneously stopped recording for exactly 7 minutes. When power returned, no explanation could be found. Batteries remained fully charged. Equipment functioned perfectly afterward. Whatever happened during those missing minutes remains unknown. Decades later, satellite technology and modern mapping renewed interest in the mystery. Archaeologists surveyed the area using advanced imaging equipment, searching for underground structures or hidden tunnels. They discovered unusual stone formations buried beneath the village, arranged in circular patterns far older than Black Hollow itself. Their original purpose remains uncertain. Some researchers believe they were ceremonial sites created by ancient civilizations. Others argue they were simply natural geological formations. Or intrigue. Deep inside the surrounding forest, investigators uncovered dozens of weathered wooden markers carved with unfamiliar symbols. No historical records identified who created them. Linguists attempted to translate the markings, but reached no consensus. Carbon dating suggested the carvings existed centuries before the village was founded. Hikers exploring the region occasionally report unsettling experiences. Some describe hearing footsteps behind them while walking alone, only to find empty trails. Others claim GPS devices suddenly lose signal near the abandoned village before functioning normally again. Campers have reported strange lights drifting silently between trees late at night. While skeptics attribute these events to natural causes, believers argue that Black Hollow's mystery is still unfolding. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not what happened that night, but whether the villagers truly disappeared forever. Every few years, someone claims to have encountered people dressed in old-fashioned clothing deep within remote forests, speaking unfamiliar dialects before vanishing into the trees. None of these reports have ever been verified, yet they continue fueling speculation that Black Hollow's residents may have crossed into somewhere beyond ordinary understanding. History teaches us that many mysteries eventually find explanations, once impossible to imagine. Lost cities are rediscovered. Ancient codes are deciphered. Forgotten civilizations emerge beneath layers of earth. Perhaps one day, new evidence will finally reveal what happened inside Black Hollow on that silent autumn night. Until then, its empty streets remain frozen in time, serving as a haunting reminder that even in our modern world, there are still places where certainty ends and mystery begins.
So, if you ever find yourself traveling through lonely mountains and discover an abandoned village where dinner still sits untouched on the table, where children's toys remain exactly where they were dropped, and where silence feels almost alive, remember the legend of the village that vanished overnight. Whether the truth lies in human history, natural science, or something far beyond our current understanding, one question continues to echo across generations. What could make an entire village disappear without leaving a single trace? Until that answer is found, Black Hollow will remain one of the world's most unforgettable, unsolved mysteries.